Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into Journey to the Center, fiction, myths, and the 12-kilometer reality. You know, we spend so much time looking up at the stars with this immense sense of wonder, but the ground right beneath our feet, it holds a mystery that's just as compelling and, honestly, way more elusive.
So, what really happens when you drill to the center of the Earth? Let's jump right in by looking at the incredible contrast between our wildest fictional imaginations and the actual, mind-bending scientific realities of deep Earth exploration. What actually happens when you try to pierce the skin of our planet? Well, as you're going to see, the truth hiding deep in that rock is just as wild as the myths we've invented.
Moving into Section 1, Myths of the Underground.
For literally centuries, we've let our imaginations run totally wild about what exists down there. Just look at this timeline. In the 1300s, Dante's Inferno depicted hell as this massive, sprawling cavern stretching all the way to the center of the Earth. Then jump ahead to 1864, and you've got Jules Verne popularizing the hollow Earth concept in his legendary novel Journey to the Center of the Earth, where characters go 87 miles down and find a massive underground sea. And hey, this fascination hasn't stopped. There's even a 2026 reissue coming up for the classic choose-your-own-adventure book Underground Kingdom, where readers are still actively guiding characters through a hidden world of bottomless crevasses and bizarre beasts.
Which brings us to Section 2, The Well to Hell.
Now, this cultural obsession eventually morphed into a full-blown modern myth. Back in the late 1980s, an absolutely incredible rumor spread like wildfire. The story went that a team of Soviet engineers in Siberia had drilled a hole 9 miles deep and accidentally broken right through into a massive cavity. They supposedly lowered a microphone into the 1,000 degrees Celsius heat and actually recorded the literal screams of the damned. To make it even crazier, the legend claimed a demon rose out of this cursed well and was a bat-like apparition blazing a trail across the Russian sky.
But as a fascinating case study in mass gullibility, this whole thing was an elaborate hoax. A Norwegian teacher named Audre Rendelin heard a broadcast of the rumor and just decided to mess with it. He deliberately augmented the story, sent in a mistranslated news article, and actually invented that bat demon detail himself. And the network, they just aired it without checking. Oh, and those tormented screams that made the rounds on the early internet? Yeah, they were literally just looped sound effects from a 1972 horror movie called Barren Blood.
All right, Section 3, The Real Deep Dig.
So, pulling back the curtain on all that myth, there actually was a real massive Soviet drilling project, just, not for demons. Driven by the Cold War and pure scientific curiosity, the Soviets wanted to beat the Americans by drilling deeper than anyone ever had. Starting in 1970 on the remote Kola Peninsula, way above the Arctic Circle, the Kola Superdeep Borehole project set out to drill into crust that was over 2.5 billion years old. This wasn't about mining for gold or oil, it was a pure scientific race to understand our planet's ancient history.
12,262 meters. That is the absolutely staggering maximum depth they finally achieved in 1989. To really put that into perspective, it took them 24 years of continuous, grueling work to get there. Think about that for a second. If you had a baby when this project started, that child would be a full-grown adult by the time the drill finally stopped.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the engineering. Look at Mount Everest. It's 8,848 meters tall. But the Kola Superdeep Borehole goes 12,262 meters down. That's deeper than the Mariana Trench. They managed this by pushing a drill string weighing over 100 tons deeper and deeper into solid rock, constantly adding segments like a massive metal tower being built straight down into the Earth.
That brings us to Section 4, Surprises in the Stone.
Because what scientists actually discovered miles beneath the surface completely contradicted existing scientific models. It was honestly just as bizarre as the hollow Earth fiction we talked about earlier. At depths where the intense pressure and heat should have crushed all the pores shut, they found rocks absolutely saturated with free-flowing water that was actually squeezed directly from the hydrogen and oxygen atoms in the rock itself. Even more mind-blowing, 6 kilometers down, they found perfectly intact microscopic fossils of 24 different species of ancient plankton. They also found these totally unexpected concentrations of gold dust. And geologically, scientists were certain the rock would shift from granite to basalt around 7 kilometers down based on their seismic readings. But it didn't. The granite just kept going. Basically, our models were completely wrong.
Section 5, The Unstoppable Heat.
Now, despite all these incredible discoveries, the project was forced to permanently halt at just over 12 kilometers. Why? Because they hit a literal wall of extreme heat at 180 degrees Celsius. Scientists simply hadn't predicted temperatures to rise this fast. At 180 degrees, the deep rocks began to behave in some very strange ways. Instead of being hard and brittle, the immense pressure and heat caused the rock to become totally malleable. It started behaving like soft flowing plastic or hot taffy. The rock actively flowed back into the hole just as fast as they could drill it out, seizing up and completely crushing their drill bits.
So why is the Earth still so unbelievably hot billions of years after it formed? Well, it can't exactly radiate heat into the vacuum of space easily. Radiation is a really slow way to lose heat. But additionally, it comes down to radioactivity. When the Earth was formed, heavy, unstable radioactive elements like uranium sank down to the core. Their constant decay basically acts as a massive internal nuclear furnace, generating huge amounts of heat and keeping the inside of our planet incredibly hot.
Finally, Section 6, the untouched core.
The Kola project became a true monument to human ambition, for sure, but also a pretty stark reminder of our limitations. Get this, if the Earth were an apple, this record-breaking 12-kilometer hole wouldn't even pierce the skin. This massive, decades-long project covered only 0.2% of the distance to the center. That leaves 99.8% completely unexplored. We haven't even made it a third of the way through the outermost crust, let alone touch the mantle or the core.
And because we simply can't drill any further with our current technology, everything we know about the deep Earth is, well, essentially an educated scientific guess. We rely entirely on indirect measurements. We listen to seismic earthquake waves bouncing around the inside of the planet. We use magnetic field measurements, and we rely heavily on computer models. Literally no human has ever seen the mantle or the core of our own planet with their own eyes.
So I'll leave you with this final bit of cosmic irony. We have photographed black holes in distant galaxies, right? We've sent advanced robotic rovers to the surface of Mars, and we have mapped the outer solar system. Yet the ground directly beneath our feet remains one of the most mysterious, unseen frontiers in the entire universe. So the next time you look down, ask yourself, what is truly hiding in that 99.8% of our world that remains completely untouched? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions and keep exploring.